You think the mouth is for eating. No, it's a weapon. You think you had a mouth from the beginning. You're wrong. 400 million years ago, your ancestors' mouths were round, like a sucker, without teeth. With no teeth or core, they could only lie on the seabed. Then the jaw evolved from gill arches. You think the gill arch just allows fish to bite things. Totally wrong. The moment the gill arch appeared, your ancestors became true predators. The first fish to grow jaws began to actively hunt prey. Scientists say the emergence of jaws in the evolution of vertebrates the most critical system upgrade. And your current mouth is the direct legacy of that upgrade. Today we will talk about the 6th episode of the Tongshi, the story of the Middle Paleozoic. Back in 4,850 million years ago, the Ordovician period. Last time we talked about the eye revolution in the Cambrian. After the emergence of eyes, the arms race between predators and prey began to accelerate wildly. The Ordovician period was the peak of this acceleration. The ocean during this period covered nearly 70% of the Earth's land. The sea was warm and abundant oxygen, and life grew wildly here. The trilobites were in their most glorious golden age and have evolved more than 5,000 species. Some have a triradiate compound eye. Some have lace-like, fine decorative spines. Scientists still haven't figured out what these spines are for. But the Ordovician Ocean was not just the world of trilobites. On the seafloor, there floated a strange creature called kalish. They used fine organic matter like hair to weave branches floating in the water, attached to them and drifted with the current. At that time, they seemed insignificant, but they reproduce extremely fast and in large numbers. Once they died in large numbers and sank to the bottom, they became the most important dating tool. But the truly chilling thing in the ocean is a cephalopod called the nautilus. Its shell is conical and can reach up to 11 meters. It's like a giant torpedo hanging in the water. It is the undisputed top predator in the ocean. Like trilobites, and fish that met it were just snacks. By the way, fish. In the Ordovician period, something epic-making happened. The first true fish quietly swam into this ocean. But they didn't have gills. These nucleated fish have round mouths, like a suction cup. They can only filter and scrape organic debris from the seabed to live. They look unremarkable, and even a little pitiful. But don't underestimate these mouthless fish. They are your ancestors. In tens of millions of years, gills will evolve from gill arches. Fish will grow teeth and chase prey. Then the rules of the game on the entire Earth will be rewritten. However, the prosperity of the Ordovician period was interrupted. 444 million years ago, the Antarctic continent, the southern part of Gondwana, suddenly began to cool rapidly, forming a large ice sheet. Sea level dropped, and large areas of the sea were exposed as land. Those trilobites that relied on the sea for survival and brachiopods died in large numbers. This is the explanation given by the glacial hypothesis, but there is a more terrifying version: gamma ray bursts. In the Milky Way, every once in a while, a massive star will collapse into a neutron star or a black hole. At that moment, it releases the highest energy density explosion, gamma ray bursts. Scientists speculate that 444 million years ago, a star about 6,000 light-years away from Earth had such an explosion. Gamma rays travel through the universe at the speed of light and directly hit the Earth's atmosphere. The ozone layer was torn apart in a very short time. The sun's ultraviolet rays, like lasers, directly hit the ocean's surface. Plankton died in batches. When plankton died, the entire food chain collapsed from the bottom. As a result, 85% of species were permanently erased. This is the second mass extinction in Earth's history. The star had never even seen the shadow of the Earth, but the light it released before dying traveled through the universe and precisely penetrated the Earth's protective layer. Then life collapsed. This is the Ordovician extinction. After the extinction, life did not give up. The retention period, 440 million years ago, the survivors in the ocean began to rebuild. This time, the valleys appeared, the trilobites made a comeback, and fish ushered in a real explosion. Fish that grew out of the valleys began to actively hunt prey. The relationship between predator and prey entered a new dimension. But the most important thing in the retention period wasn't in the sea. The land 400 million years ago was a suffocating wasteland. There were no trees or grass or any animals, only rocks, dust, and the occasional low moss. This wilderness was silent for nearly 4 billion years. Then plants came. The first plants to land were small and fragile, only a few centimeters tall. They had no real leaves, no flowers, or even roots. They only used simple pseudo-roots to hold the rocks and absorb water and sunlight with tiny stems. But they did an amazing thing. They lived and produced oxygen. The plants landing represented an event in the history of the Earth, happened only once. Life actively invaded a new dimension. And following the plant's footsteps to the shore were the ancestors of arthropods, centipedes, the ancestors of pigs. They spread their legs on this empty land, with no natural enemies nor any competitors. This is the first time in the history of the Earth the first animals to land on a large scale. They faced not challenges, but a whole blank world time. In the Devonian period, 419 million years ago, this is the age of fish. In the ocean, fish evolved astonishing diversity. There were armored fish with heavy bone armor. There are fish that are over 8 meters long, with an estimated bite force which is 4 times the bite force of modern great white sharks, and the ancestors of sharks that had evolved cartilage. The entire ocean was dominated by various fish. Plants on land began to grow taller. In the middle of the Devonian period, the first true trees appeared, reaching up to 30 meters, forming the first forest in Earth's history. Then, a fish made a decision that changed everything. It's called the Tiktaalik. It lived in shallow water about 375 million years ago. It has scales and fins, but its fins were completely different from ordinary fish. Its fins have humerus, ulna, radius, and pubis. This is the first version of the skeleton, the initial version of the skeleton hidden in your arm. The Tiktaalik rose to its feet with its front fins and lift its head out of the water. It has lungs to breathe in the air. It can crawl on the shallows. Scientists call it the ancestor of tetrapods. It's a transitional species between fish and tetrapods. Transitional species. If you look at its fossil photos, you can vaguely see the embryonic form of a hand. Those hands eventually became the hands you are holding your phone now. However, the Devonian period did not end well. 372 million years ago, the second mass extinction on Earth occurred. 3/4 of species disappeared. The marine reef ecosystem almost collapsed completely, and the Devonian was permanently extinct. This time, the murderer was unexpected, probably trees. This sounds like a joke, but scientists are serious. When the first trees expanded massively in the Devonian, they began to take root in the rocks, secreting organic acids, which accelerated the weathering and erosion of rocks. Rock weathering releases a large amount of nutrients. Phosphorus was washed into the ocean with rain, triggered explosive reproduction of planktonic algae. After the algae exploded and died, and a large amount of decay, consuming almost all the dissolved oxygen in the ocean began to be severely oxygen deprived. Meanwhile, trees are still frantically absorbing carbon dioxide. Global temperatures dropped sharply, triggering local glaciation. Oxygen deficiency in the ocean and global cooling, under the double blow, coral reefs disappeared, and a large number of plankton died. The entire food chain collapsed from the base. This extinction didn't happen all at once. It's like a blunt knife. It took nearly 20 million years intermittently. It's the longest lasting of the 5 mass extinctions. From the gamma rays of the Ordovician period, to the first step of the Hadean, to the fish that decided to climb ashore in the Devonian, and then the trees ended that era. Have you noticed one thing?
Every disaster precisely eliminated the current dominant species, but every disaster also simultaneously opened a door that no one had noticed before.
The Ordovian extinction created ecological niches for fish to thrive. The Devonian extinction emptied the ocean, leaving opportunities for those tetrapods that had just climbed to land. Life does not evolve smoothly. It was forced out in one disaster after another. The eyes you are using to watch this video, going back in time, the first pair appeared in the Cambrian period, 540 million years ago. The pair of valleys you are thinking about now, the first pair, first appeared in an ancient shallow sea at the end of the retention period. You didn't appear here by chance. You are a miracle selected over 400 million years. Next time, we will enter the craziest era of the Paleozoic. In the Carboniferous, the oxygen concentration was 35, dragonfly wingspan 70 centimeters, centipedes weighed 50 kilograms. That was a world where if you traveled back in time, you would be poisoned by oxygen within 3 breaths world.